geometry. So for today, we're moving on 6.3, and we're going to be talking about intersecting chords. So basically what happens whenever two chords intersect each other inside of a circle and the math that is required to work some of those problems. So let's jump into it. All right, guys, so the first thing we're going to look at is it says here on the first theorem here, the products of the lengths of the segments of the intersecting chords are equal. So what this means is if you're given a circle and you have a chord going across this circle, and then you have another chord that is going across the circle, and they're intersecting inside of that circle, the products of the two lengths that are created, if I multiply those together, those are going to be equal. So for instance, if this is A and this is B, and then on the other line, I put this is C and this is D, I'm going to multiply the two lengths of the blue line, and I'm going to multiply the two lengths of the red line, and those are going to be equal to each other. So if I was to write this out, I would take A and B, I'll multiply them together, that's why they're next to each other. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put a multiply in between those, okay? And then that's going to be equal to C times D. So I'm going to take C and multiply times D, okay? And so those are going to be equal to each other when I multiply those. So I'm going to end up creating an equation. I can solve a missing side by using this instance here, okay? All right, let's look at the next one. So it says, vertical angles are formed by intersecting chords and are equal in measure. So we already know that vertical angles are going to be congruent to each other. So if I have a circle, and then I have a chord going this way and a chord going this way, they're intersecting each other. I know the vertical angles, meaning the angles across from each other, are going to be congruent to each other. So that means this angle is going to be congruent to this one. And then this angle up top here, I'm going to put 2 marks on it, but put it in blue, is going to be congruent to this one. So angles across from each other are going to be congruent to each other. Those are vertical angles. Okay, we knew that back from our parallel lines and transversals unit that we used last semester. Okay, so vertical angles are congruent to each other. Next one says adjacent angles formed by intersecting chords are supplementary. So that would be the linear pair that we learned back in our last semester when the parallel lines and transversals is the linear pair is going to be supplementary to each other. So for instance, if I was to draw this circle again, and I have the two chords intersecting each other, okay, two angles here, and I'm going to do it in red, this angle and this angle right now are going to be supplementary, meaning they add up to 180. So that means if this was angle A and this is angle B, A plus B is going to equal 180 degrees. They're supplementary to each other. So again, adjacent angles, angles next to each other are going to add up to 180 degrees. Okay? Now the last one, it says the measure of the angle formed by the intersecting chords is half the sum of the measure of the intersected arcs. Okay, and what I mean by this is if you have a circle and you have your two chords going across from each other and intersecting, if I wanted to find this angle right now, okay, I'm going to take the intercepted arcs, so that means the arc that is formed by the two chords, and then this arc right here, okay? I'm going to call this arc A, I'm going to call this arc B. So if I wanted to find angle X here, X is going to be equal to 1/2 the measure of A plus B. So that means I'm going to take this chord right here, or this arc, which is A, I'm going to take this arc, which is B, I'm going to add them together, I'm going to take half of it, and that's going to give me this angle right here. So if I wanted to find this angle right here, I would take these two arcs, add them together, and take 1/2 of it in order to get my answer there, okay? So we're going to take this information, we're going to plug it into our examples, and hopefully it'll make some sense to you guys. Let's jump over to that. All right, so on number 1, it says, what is the measure of angle DSA? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually mark out that. So right now, angle DS to A, going all the way down here, is going to be this angle right here. This is the angle that I need to find. So if we look, this angle is being formed by both of these intersecting chords inside of here. So I know by that last theorem that we said, I need to take the two intercepted arcs, I need to add those together and take 1/2 of it, and that's going to give me that angle. So right now, angle DSA, if I look, this is the line that's drawing it, and this is the line that's drawing it. So right now, this is my intercepted arc, and this is my intercepted arc. So it looks like 19 and 153 are the two intercepted arcs. So right now, to find angle DSA, I'm gonna take 1/2 of 19 plus 153, okay? So it's gonna be 163, and then it's gonna be 172. So I'm gonna take 1/2 of 172, and then if I actually divide that, is going to be 86. So angle DSA is going to equal 86 degrees. Okay? So again, add the two arcs together, divide by 2, and that's going to end up giving you your angle. So if this is 86, this would also be 86 because they're vertical. And then I could actually find this because they're supplementary to each other if I wanted to. Okay? All right, let's jump over to example number 2. All right, on example number 2, it says we need to find the value of x. So right now, if we look, x is going to be a side length going from the intersection all the way to here. I have two intersecting chords, so I know the relationship between those is I could take these two measurements, multiply them together, and take these two measurements and multiply them together, and they have to be equal to each other, okay? So I can set up my equation here, and I can solve for that missing variable. So right now, both of the measurements on this line are 10 and 24. So I'm going to do 10 times 24, and I'm going to set it equal to the product of the other two. So here's my other line, and the two measurements on that are 15 and x. So I'm going to do 15 times x, and that's going to end up giving me, they have to be equal to each other. So right now I'm going to do 10 times 24, which is going to be 240, 15x. Now to get x by itself, I'm going to divide by 15 on both sides. So this is going to cancel. So x is going to be equal to, and if I do 240 divided by 15, that is going to give you 16. So x is going to be 16 in measurement. So again, the products of the measurement of these two lines and the product of these two lines have to be equal to each other. Set them equal, solve, it'll give you that missing variable. Okay, let's jump over to example number 3. All right, and lastly on example number 3, I want you to find the value of x and y. So in this instance, x is going to be your side length here, and y is going to be an angle here that's missing. Okay, I forgot to put something on here, but this is going to be 140, and I want you to write this in. This is going to be 175 up top. I didn't put it in there earlier, now I did. Okay, so first thing, let's go ahead and find what x is. So again, x is going to be your side length. So I know if I take the products of these two sides and set it equal to the product, these two sides are going to be equal to each other. So I'm going to do both of the measurements on this line, which are 14 and x. So I'm going to multiply those together, and that's going to be equal to the measurements of these two right here, which are 18 and 13. So I'm going to do 18 times 13. So 18 times 13 is going to give you 234. I'm going to set that equal to 14x. Then I'm going to divide by 14 on both sides. So x is going to be equal to, and I'm going to divide that by 14, and that's going to give you 16.7. Perfect. And now lastly, if you look, y is going to be this angle right here. So I know to find the angle that is being created by my two intercepted arcs, I have to add the two intercepted arcs together and then divide by 2. So right now, y is being created by these two chords, which if I look, these two chords are, this is the intercepted arc, and this is the intercepted arc. So again, I'm going to add those two arcs together, divide by 2, and that's going to give me my angle. So y is going to be equal to 1/2 the measure of 140 plus 175. Okay? So 140 plus 175 is going to give you 315. And then I'm going to divide 315 by 2, and that's going to end up giving me 157.5. So y is going to be equal 157.5 degrees. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, this is how you would find the math of the missing side or a missing angle whenever you have two intersecting chords. Let me know if you have any questions. Good luck on your skill check.